Please welcome to the podium, Dr. Friedman.
Good morning, and I want to thank you all for inviting me to come. I really am so impressed by how much you've all done in a very short time frame. And you know, I think as I've talked to you and listened and to the sessions more and more, it's, you know, the commonalities are just so much stronger than the differences. You know, I'm learning a lot. So what I thought I would do this morning was talk about two game changers, and then watch a video, also from the Bronx, but a different school than Ramon's, and then talk a little bit about the New York context, and then the lessons we've learned and the challenges we see going forward. So let me start with Jamal. He's a third grader from Brooklyn, and he started, as many third grade boys do, starting to feel separate from school. He's a bright young boy. He was learning well, having some trouble with reading. And in third grade, he started sort of wondering, why am I in this school? And started acting out, was suspended twice. And his teacher recommended to his mom that she enroll him in the after-school program. And there he discovered chess. And he was terrific at chess. And he started teaching other kids how to play chess. And it just changed his whole presence and his whole feeling about school. And as he said, I feel like a king. And another story about a game changer was a young man named Raul, who also went to a program started in middle school. He was artistic, shy, and joined the fashion club. And fashion clubs are very popular in the New York City after-school programs. Kids learn to design. And he had a lot of talent and was encouraged. And when he graduated, he went and worked in the garment industry for a while, and then decided to strike out on his own and create his own fashion brand. And not surprising, that was a real struggle and difficult. And to make ends meet, he took a job as a counselor in the same after-school program that he had attended as a teenager. And what he discovered was, as good as he was at design, he really loved teaching kids, teaching them fashion, but also teaching them reading, teaching them math, and went on to become a teacher. And we haven't talked about that much here, although Jackie just referenced it, the whole professional development of the staff who work in the after-school programs and the impact that has on their future lives. And so Raul, for him, the after-school was a game changer as well. I'm going to show you, to give you another view inside of a New York City school, I'm going to show you a video of one of our programs also in the Bronx.
We are actually sandwiched between two projects, and a lot of the students are from the neighborhood.
The students haven't been exposed to much, and they're surrounded and within a 5 to 10 block radius, which they never leave.
This matters to me because I truly believe in empowering young people.
Expanding learning time provides one-on-one, hands-on, personalized touch to education because they're here an additional 2 hours a day.
It's the best time for you to interact with a child. You get to see the real child.
Stitch number 3, can you do it on your own?
I like knitting because it helps me focus better in class. It helps me with hand coordination. Sometimes my handwriting will come out sloppy because I'm not paying attention to the way I position my hands. With knitting, you have to put your hands in a certain position to get it right.
It opened up the door for not only for education, but also for their socialization, their creativity, their expanding academically, and it provides a safe haven for them.
Keeps them focused, they learn how to concentrate.
Book club is important because it gives people more time to read during the day. It's inspiring, and it's fun to see people reading a book and having aha experiences as they go through the book.
My reading gets better each day.
The reason I signed up for SOSA is to be intrigued by another culture. I get to learn new things every week.
Oh, it gives them so much confidence. Having someone believe in you. We all need that. We all need that leadership to become a leader ourselves.
Being exposed to several activities in expanded time, our young people are able to build their self-confidence, and we could see that it's carried over into the classroom. They're able to ask questions.
If I wasn't in extended time, I would actually be playing my Xbox.
Honestly, I would just be at home and watch TV.
They become more eager and more attentive because they want more. This is a motivation for them. It narrows the gap.
Each day I learn more and more. Each day I'm here, I feel more successful about my life.
We can accomplish almost anything.
Thank you. I need to do a little clarification about our name because I could see that Africa was a little confused, as people are. We started out as the After School Corporation. About 2 years ago, we changed our name to ExpandEd Schools to really convey the idea that it should be integrated. So going exactly to the tensions that Africa talked about. We saw that the very best after-school programs were programs where the principal, like Ramon and like the principal of this school, were really engaged and saw after school as an extension of the school day and not as something totally different. At the After School Corporation or ExpandEd Schools, we believe that every child, regardless of the community from which they come, deserves to discover their full potential and develop all their skills. So our model for expanded learning is that we give kids more time of their learning day. We bring in talent and role models from the community into the school, and we infuse the curriculum with arts and sports and science and leadership. We started about almost 20 years ago with a major grant from George Soros, and the inspiration at that point was that the welfare laws in the U.S. had changed, so more women were working. There was data that showed that crime was happening between 3 and 6. That was the most dangerous hours for kids. And we started seeing that the U.S. was no longer the leader in terms of test scores and math and English, and people started realizing that they needed more time for the learning day. So we're started, we're, like the Learning Trust, we don't directly deliver services, but we work with more than 100 community organizations. So in New York City, like in Cape Town, there's a very vibrant community of practice. And what we have found is that what makes us very strong is that we have 100 partners when we want to advocate for change, but also it's a way of programs learning from each other with conferences like this, where there is almost like cross-pollination. You have a promising practice in one place, and you can learn about it and take it to the next place. The way we're organized is we have 3 major functions. Again, very similar to what Jackie talked about in terms of what both the provincial government does as well as Learning Trust. We build capacity, both of the schools and of the NGOs, the community-based organizations, the staff. We do research and development, and this is where the innovation comes in. We incubate new ideas, we test them out, and then if they're successful, and research is a very important part, we advocate for changing policies in government. Again, we've had success. We had first Mayor Bloomberg and now Mayor de Blasio have really adopted our model and invested huge amounts of public resources. One of the things I should mention is our model mostly is for K through 8. We do some small high school programs, but mostly elementary and middle school. And different from your model is our expectations that kids come every day. Very difficult to achieve by the time kids are in 8th grade, but when they're in the younger grades, we often can get them to come every day. And if a principal like Ramon creates the expectation that school goes till 5 or 5:30, kids do come every day. But it really depends on a strong principal. So among the lessons learned, one is you need a strong principal. Two is that if you're really thinking about scale and sustainability, you need to start with stakeholders from the very beginning before you even initiate the programs. So talking to the educators, the leaders of the community organizations, parents, families, the civic institutions, to really get buy-in early on. Secondly, evaluation, and Jackie mentioned how important that is. And it's both data collection, so you know what you're doing, but also evaluation of your outcomes, because in order to get the public sector to really invest, we need that research that shows the impact of the program. We also found it very effective to have a cost model, so when government was ready to adopt and take a program to scale, they knew how much it was going to cost. People mentioned yesterday, community is really important, context is really important, that I think one of the things that we did really well is found the balance between the sort of core elements, what had to be, what was non-negotiable in a program, but with enough leeway and enough flexibility that every school could really fashion the program for themselves and really have it reflect their culture and their community. And that's, I think, one of the important balances that has to be achieved. And then, which we also talked about yesterday, it takes time. That you just have to have enormous amount of patience for the changes to be made. Thank you. And just sort of two examples of taking time. One is, we realize, as I said before, that it's so important that the principals really buy in. And so it's still a dream, but we're going to accomplish it, is that when principals are trained, that from the beginning, they see a partnership with community organizations as part of their job. So you think about the principal pipeline, if every principal being trained today has that lesson and that is part of what they see as being a principal, in 5 years, then you'll have more and more schools that are really ready to embrace the partnership. But that takes time. The other thing, another example just is, again, Jackie referred to the socio-emotional learning that kids need, is that what we're seeing in the US is just much more acceptance and embracing of that we need to educate the whole child. And that is something that the community organizations do really well. But it's taken a while for educators to really be ready to integrate the academic with the socio-emotional. But we're seeing that change now, and so makes us very optimistic about the future, that we will have this adoption of an approach that defines student achievement as much broader than just literacy or math scores. Now, in terms of the challenges going forward, we haven't figured out technology at all. I shouldn't say it all. We have some wonderful isolated examples of using technology well, but we don't have it. We don't have a really good model to help our programs use technology. Two, and again, I heard this yesterday, student voice and family engagement continue to be challenges. Again, we have examples of terrific parent engagement, but it's not consistent across the system. Then also the issue of the integration with the school day. Again, Ramon's school is a great example. The video showed another school where there's a really good integration, but that continues to be a challenge. And a challenge to make sure that the after-school hours really have a combination of joy and learning, and joy and rigor, and maintaining that and not having it just be more school, I think, continues to be a challenge across certainly across the U.S., and it sounds as though that's a challenge here as well. And then really the final challenge is the challenge of excellence. Going back to Nick's, where he started us out yesterday, is how do we reach quality? And we, have sort of two thoughts about that. One, again, is back to the workforce, the importance of a strong workforce in the after-school hours. We need to, it's really almost a program within a program. Most of the staff in our programs are college students, and really developing their skills, some of them maybe to become teachers, some of them to become lawyers, wherever they're going, is to really strengthen their skills and so that the quality of the service is terrific. And then finally is really not conflating access with quality. I think we always say sort of the gold standard is this a program that we would send our own children to? The more we think about it and recognize the situations from which many of our children come, and going back to the video which mentioned what we call the 6,000-hour learning gap, that by sixth grade, kids in the U.S. at least on average, coming from very poor families, have had 6,000 hours less exposure than middle-class kids. It says to us, not only is it really important that the programs have real quality services, but maybe that we need to have even higher quality than we have for the kinds of services that those of us in the middle class would buy for our kids, so that we really, that to achieve equity, we have to have super excellence. So I want to leave you with that thought. Thank you so much.